This is Vanstein, one of Europe's best Rammstein tributes, and I'm their sound engineer. Because of them and their international tours, I started my adventure creating Baba Yaga. As you could have seen in the previous episodes, we've had our share of bad luck, but after a little over 2 months, we were back on track. Not quite. I had to break my ankle on a motorcycle, which cost me some more months. Fortunately, I was in good company and had good supervision during my recovery, until I had enough of laying in bed for way too long.
Get on with it!
But where do you start? It's been almost 4 months without any work, still suffering all COVID-19 measures, without any festivals or performances.
Get on with it!
What will happen in the future? Will there be a future at all? And the weather didn't help much either, as the rain was pouring down and the roof was leaking quite extensively. First thing I needed were funds to continue, but without any work. I did have a lot of gear already, but that was by far not enough to get the project finished. Although there were many support schemes I was entitled to benefit from, every time somebody came up with a reason to refuse any support. I was getting more and more frustrated, and in the end I wrote a very angry letter to the bank, who were functioning as the gatekeepers of those benefits. And that worked, so finally I could
Get on with it!
Right, the roof hatches were leaking and it was also quite difficult to get them fully opened, so those were top of the list. Later we discovered that the front of the roof was very poorly plastered with some type of polyester. We solved that with glass kit, Sikaflex and a special rubber kind of paint. As soon as the leakage was solved, we continued to the sleeping bunks. In broad daylight it's almost impossible to fall asleep, so we wanted to darken the windows. We tainted one window, but it was hardly any darker. First thought we had was we must have received the wrong foil. But after checking with the factory, it turned out that we did have the darkest. Luckily we could swap it for a pitch black foil, and that turned out ideal. Tainting the windows is the ultimate relation test when you're doing it with your partner. However, after a lot of blood, sweat and tears, the result was more than satisfying. Although I do hope that we'll never ever have to do this ourselves again. To get the right feeling, I blocked the front window with a few blankets, making it completely dark inside, and the only light you could still see was coming through the blankets. This is how the toilet should look like. And this is ours. I knew it was broken, but I don't think it can be repaired anymore, so we'll get back to that later. Before I was up and running again, I already ordered the first few parts to get USB power in every bunk for charging phones and other portable gear. Creating these cables turned out great with binding posts and cable eyes. Especially with this hydraulic clamp I bought, making it a neat and tidy cable layout. Next up was the internal lighting. Normally there were two options, daylight, nightlight or off. But because I took the ceiling out, the standard lights also were removed, and I wanted to install LED strip. So you take the wires of both day and night lighting, connect them to a dimmer and you're done, right? Wrong. Turned out the dimmer didn't work as expected and I had to make quite a difficult connection plan. But in the end it worked. All set for when the actual lights will go in. While she was ready for our first tour, I was still working hard to get the new ceiling in. To mount the wooden plates I needed 3 to 4 hands, but because I didn't have help all the time, I bought some stands to keep them in place while I was screwing and gluing the plates to the ceiling. After a while, it started to look really tidy, and once the ceiling was finished, it was time to start with the separation walls between the bunks and the lounge. That turned out to be a challenge. I spent almost an entire day to get it exactly to fit. At the moment it's still not perfect, but we do have a perfect prototype, with lots of notes on it. Recognize this bunch from the beginning of this video? Because they put on a really good Runstein show, they need a lot of equipment. And yes, that does cause some tires to blow up every once in a while. Having enough space and load capacity is therefore very important. I bought a trailer, 5 meters in length, later mount a box on it and away we go. Yeah, right. First, the trailer turned out to be more than half a meter too long. As a result, the box I already bought didn't fit nicely, and, to get the story complete, the box was so heavy that there was hardly any loading capacity left, so the box was sold and another one was bought. Brilliant, lightweight, and in length it only had to be shortened for a little, and some doors had to be installed. Looks awesome, right? The trailer wasn't only too long, but it turned out to be also too narrow, and later the box actually fell off during a strong wind.
Now go away or I shall taunt you a second time.
I need a break. The sun on Milos felt awesome. Just plain relaxing. Admiring the stunning views and living the Greek life. Enjoying ourselves without any obligations. Loving the local culture, their history, the sometimes surreal landscapes, the food, the sea, until I plunge myself to death. No way! I survived! We were already thinking for a long time that the bus can't stay at home forever. I had been looking at a lot of locations where she could be parked. Just before our holiday I finally found a good place. When we were back, we still kept her for a few more weeks at home, but then, after she had been parked in front of our house for a little over a year, I moved Baba Yaga to a new spot. And no, there wasn't even the slightest little problem. Not even the fire extinguishers fell over. And they didn't blow any foam at all towards me while I was driving.